What we know
Hey,
about adaptive athletics, it is competitive. It's exciting. There are so many benefits. And to get us started, I'm going to introduce Jamie Vickers. I hope I'm saying it right. Jamie, feel free to correct
yeah.
me. This is her. Did I say it right?
Yes, you did. Hmm.
Okay, great. Great, great, great. I'm going to ask our friends that are on Zoom if you can speak up just a little bit because it's a little low here for us. But what I have been able to share and experience with the Challenge Athlete Foundation is a bunch of support. This particular organization is open to people abroad as well. So it is an international opportunity. So if you're a citizen or not a citizen, this is the grant or scholarship for you. There are a couple, and Jamie will get into it. And just recently, their organization has overhauled their application portal and process. So it's really important if you've applied before to pay close attention because there's been some updates. And particularly for the blind community, I find that the new additions will be really helpful in this application season. So welcome, Jamie, and go ahead and get started.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Kiana. Can everyone hear me okay? Excellent. It's so
Yes.
nice to be with you today. Thanks for having me again. This is my second year, as Kiana mentioned. Happy to be with you and share a little bit about the Challenged Athletes Foundation and our grant programs that you may be eligible to apply for. So I do have a presentation. If it's okay, Kiana, I will share my screen in case anyone wants to follow along. I can also send this presentation over to Kiana to share afterwards if anyone would like it. Just to go at your own.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Let me go ahead. Let me share my screen really quickly. Oh, it says sharing is not turned on. Is there any chance you could turn that on?
Sure, just a moment.
I'll just say I'm to whoever the Phillies fans are. We're in San Diego, so big lifelong Padres fan over here, and we're hanging on by a thread to beat those Dodgers. So I get it. I get the beauty of competitive sports.
No, we're not. Yeah, I don't bet Dodgers.
We're trying to
I
come
actually
after
do.
those Mets.
Oh, not the Mets. That'll change this conversation.
Oh my
This,
goodness. I love it. All
I
right.
ask that everyone just give us a second as we're getting some support so that we can put the sharing option on and we can also pin
Yeah.
Jamie. So just hang in there, guys.
While you're getting that situated, I'll share a little bit about Challenged Athletes Foundation for those who may not be familiar.
What?
I am the senior grants manager at CAF. I started right after college in 2012 with CAF, and our mission is to empower people with permanent physical disabilities through sport. And so we kind of fill in the gaps where maybe insurance doesn't cover, or out of pocket expenses can get really they can definitely climb with adaptive sports. So our foundation raises money to give grants to individuals with permanent physical disabilities, including visually impaired community, for sport expenses and or adaptive sport equipment. So I'll go through as soon as the screen can be shared. I'll just keep testing this. Um, we'll kind of go through the presentation, and I'll answer any questions at the end. I know I'm on a little bit of a time crunch, so we'll be sure to have some time to answer any questions. But what we'll do is we'll go through today what you'll need to apply, what you can apply for, and then actually how to apply for a grant. We'll give it just a moment.
We're trying to get some assistance here. Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry for this. And if I need to move forward without the presentation, I certainly can do so.
What are you trying to do?
While we're waiting here, are there any questions right off the bat that maybe I can answer while we're waiting? Looks like Juliet might have her hand up.
Uh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I'm from Achilles, New Jersey. I'm an athlete, so I would like to know. I represent people that have a visually impaired. So my friend could not be in the meeting, so kind of want information about like swimming lessons, or is there any type of um any type of grant that you guys offer besides that? Also people with intellectual impairment too?
Yeah, great question. So when we get into the grant categories and what you can apply for, I'll go into a little bit
Okay.
more depth of what those funds can be used for. But the short answer is yes, grant funds can be used to pay for swim lessons or pay for any sort of sport expenses that are
Okay.
eligible. So I'll go into detail about that. As far as who is eligible to apply, our grant program, our organization serves those with permanent physical disabilities only. So we do not support those with intellectual or developmental challenges. It's just our focus is strictly physical. Some of our athletes may have both, but the primary diagnosis must be a permanent physical disability.
My name is Bernie. I have a question.
Sure, Bernie, go ahead.
So I'm blind and I'm interested in taking judo. Is that something that you would cover?
Yeah, absolutely. So our CAF covers any sport you can think of. There's and again, I just want to pause because we will get into this a little bit during the presentation. So I don't want to jump too far ahead and be
Okay.
double up on answers. But the short answer, yes. Whatever
Okay.
sport you are interested in, the way that CAF works, we're sort of the resource hub. So we don't have formal programming. So we don't have a judo team per se, but we give you the funds to go and participate on a judo team or.
I have a dojo already.
Great, excellent.
Thank you.
Jamie,
Yes.
it's Susan. I had my hand raised. I just wanted to ask, I was going to suggest that since most of us are either blind or low vision, that you go ahead without the screen share, since most of us won't be able to see it, and just orally tell us more about the Challenged Athletes Foundation. Thank you.
Good.
Hi,
Absolutely.
Jamie.
Like,
We just got our tech support too, so you should be able to
excellent.
share now.
Excellent. Yes, I will share and thank you for that note. I find that it's helpful just in case anyone does want to follow along, and it kind of helps me structure the presentation as well. So we'll get going and save any other questions for the end. I'll kind of go through this presentation quickly because I know it's important. We're on a time crunch here. So I will I've shared a little bit about our mission. We have actually 6 different grant programs in total, but the majority of our athletes will apply for our annual grant program, and that's what we're here to discuss today. The annual grant is our flagship grant program that exists to support people with permanent physical disabilities worldwide. The rest of our programs are very specific. That we have one for lower limb sports prostheses and one for veterans and first responders and etc. So we're going to focus on the annual grant today. Some important annual grant timeline and details for this grant. So the application is open. It opened on Monday. And as Kiana said, it's a brand new application portal. So if you've applied for a CAF grant in the past, this is going to be a brand new portal, a brand new experience that you will, and we'll get into how to create your new login and all of that. So the application opened on Monday, October 7th, and it closes on Friday, December 6th, 2024 at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That would be 8 p.m. New York time. There will be no late applications accepted. So you do have that 2-month window to get your application submitted. Through the winter, our team reviews thousands of applications that come in from around the world, and we distribute grants in late March of next year. So late March 2025, you'll be notified of the status of your grant. And the grant cycle will end on January 31st, 2026. So you have between the time the grants are distributed until January 31st, 2026 to use those grant funds or to redeem your grant, essentially. So who can apply? We've already gone over this. Individuals with permanent physical disabilities may apply. That includes visual impairments. Who cannot apply? We do not support grants for teams, groups, or organizations. Our grant is for individuals only. And then, as we stated, those with cognitive or developmental disabilities, chronic illnesses, pain syndromes, or other strictly health-related conditions do not meet our eligibility guidelines. So what do you need to actually apply? So CAF requires that you'll have certain documentation in order to apply for a grant. If you're a first-time applicant, you will be required to upload medical verification of disability. So this will be a document from your doctor or a medical professional that states your permanent physical disability. It could be from an eye doctor, it could be from a nurse, any medical professional. And it doesn't have to be a formal letter or anything. It could even just be a prescription form that states what your permanent physical disability is. And essentially that's a one-time upload that allows our team, our system to know that you are in fact eligible for grant support. That will be, as I just stated, a one-time upload. So if you are a repeat applicant, say you apply for the first time this year and you want to apply next year, you won't have to re-upload that document. It'll just be in our system already and you won't have to upload it again. If you've applied for a grant in the past from us and we have a brand new portal this year, I'll show you how you can bypass that step of having to upload additional medical verification of disability since you already have it on file with us. In addition, in the application, you will be required to upload one photo of you, the athlete, ideally of your face, of you participating in your sport. We don't prefer like team or group photos. We do want a picture of you so that we can see you and kind of learn a little bit more about you. Next is financial documentation. So CAF exists. Our goal is to support every single person who applies for a grant. We do prioritize those with the greatest financial need first. So you will be required to upload financial documentation like a W-2 form or a government support letter, SSI, SSDI letter that states your annual or your monthly income. And that'll help us determine who has the greatest financial needs so that we can prioritize those athletes first. If you've applied in the past, you may remember that a letter of recommendation was required documentation for the application. We have done away with that this year. So a letter of recommendation is no longer required for you to apply. So if that was on your checklist, you can take that off. So the only things that are required: medical verification of disability, one photo, and financial documentation. What can you apply for? We have two grant categories that you may apply for. You may apply for one of the two. The first is our most popular, and most people with visual impairment, we have found, especially baseball players, blind hockey players, they will typically apply for a sport expense grant. About 70% of applicants apply for a sport expense grant. This grant is where we give you funds to help cover expenses related to your sport. So you can use grant funds to include coaching, training, competition, travel expenses, small equipment purchases, equipment maintenance, any sport related expense that you have, you can use those grant funds to cover. Now, the second grant category that you can apply for, again, you can apply for one or the other. So if you don't apply for sport expense, you can apply for our equipment grant. So CAF's equipment grant program, we work with some of the top vendors in the world for adaptive sport equipment. And they offer us a list of equipment at discounted pricing. So if you're looking for a piece of equipment, you can apply for an equipment grant and either select from our list what piece of equipment you're looking for. Maybe it's a hockey sled, maybe it's a hand cycle. We don't currently have a tandem bike on our preferred vendors list, but if the equipment you're looking for is not offered through our list of preferred vendors, you have the option to apply for funding for whatever piece of equipment you're looking for. So if you're looking for a tandem bike and CAF that doesn't exist on the list, you'll apply for it's sort of a subcategory of the equipment grant. And if awarded, we would give funds to purchase the equipment from the vendor of your choosing. So those are the two types of grants that you may apply for. And again, you may apply for only one. International athletes may only apply for a sport expense grant. The equipment grant option is not available for our international athletes simply because the cost of sending equipment to other countries out of the US it has just become astronomical, and CAF cannot cover that expense. So, oops. The CAF grant portal is going to be your one-stop shop from now on for all things CAF grants. This is where you're going to find the new application. The website is www.challengedathletes.org/grants. We'll be sure to send that, so don't worry about writing that down. You'll go ahead and when you're ready to apply, you'll follow that link. It's screen reader friendly, so you should be able without issue to get into that application. And I'll pull up this here. If you are following along on the screen, I'll just kind of walk through what is on the screen right now. And again, we'll send all this info. But once you click on that grant portal link, you'll get to the login page and there's an option to log in or sign up. You will all click the sign up button because regardless if you've applied for a grant in the past or you're a first-time applicant, you will click the sign up button. You'll enter in your credentials. If you're a past grant recipient, you'll enter in your same first and last name and email address when you sign up, and our system should recognize you, and it'll basically let the system know that we have your medical verification of disability on file, and you won't have to upload that. Once you're logged into the system, there's a menu at the top and you'll click on apply here. You'll be prompted to enter in some profile information, questions about your address, your phone number, your email, all that fun stuff. And once you finish the profile, you'll be able to see the applications that are available to you, which should be the sport expense grant and the equipment grant. You'll choose one of the two applications to apply for, and you'll fill out that application. It's very simple and straightforward. And again, it's screen reader friendly and has been tested, and you'll be able to submit that application and we'll review it over the winter and we will award grants in March of next year. I know that was a really rushed explanation of everything, but I want to be mindful of the time and give enough time to answer any questions you might have. So I'll stop my share here. And again, I'll send all this over to Kiana to send out to the team. But are there any questions that I can answer? Juliet, do you have your hand up?
I think so. Yeah. Well, in those grants, is there like a specific amount that you guys offer?
That's a great question, and forgive me, I didn't touch on that. Yes, so for the sport expense grant, you can request up to $1,500.
Okay.
For the equipment grant, it depends. If you select something from the list of equipment offered through our vendors, you won't even see a price associated with that because CAF will just pay the bill for it. But you can, if the equipment you're looking for is not on our list, you can request up to $3,500 to go towards the piece of equipment of your choosing. That's a great question, and thank you for bringing that up.
You're welcome. Thank you. No, it's okay. Thanks.
And Kiana, please stop me anytime when my time's up. But I want to make sure I answer any other questions that there might be.
This is Joe.
Sure. We're going to open this section to anyone that has questions. I built in an extra 20 minutes at the end. So let's go for it and get your questions answered. This is a really cool opportunity. So if you have these questions, I actually have two, but I'll save mine.
Sure.
So if you're in Zoom or you're here in the room, please go ahead and ask your questions.
Joe, go ahead.
Hey, thank you. What are some of the more unique sports or pieces of equipment you're thinking of, like right now, even as you hear this, that you've encountered that people have asked for or people have experienced with?
Oh my goodness. Do you mean specific to the visually impaired community or just kind of in general?
I can selfishly ask the visually impaired one, but I'd be curious about all of it. But yes, ma'am, specifically, I guess the visually impaired one.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind that I know that we don't offer through our vendors, but is sometimes requested is like a tandem bike for a visually impaired athlete in their guide. We get a lot of people who request funding to go towards a tandem bike, which is fantastic. And we try to support as many of those requests as possible. Things that might not be included might be unique, but things we wouldn't cover is anything that's fully electric, anything that's that is simply a mobility, general mobility device. So like an everyday a wheelchair or walker or a therapeutic device, those things are not covered through our equipment grants. It does have to be sports specific. Trying to think of anything particularly unique. Like I said, I have found I've been doing this for a lot of years. The majority of visually impaired athletes who apply for our grant do apply for that sport expense grant to help cover, you know, the Beat Baseball World Series travel and, you know, a blind judo or blind hockey expenses related to those sports. So that's what we see most often.
Hey, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Susan, did you have a question? Looks like you might be muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I currently live in New York, but I expect to be moving to Pennsylvania early next year. Let's say I applied for a grant and, you know, bingo, I got it. What happens in terms of, you know, a change of location, you know, in the interim between when you applied and when grants are awarded?
Sure, that's a great question. So when you log into your grant portal and you'll fill out your profile information, you'll put in your current address and say in 6 months that address changes. You can actually log back into the grant portal and update your address in your profile so that we have your most up-to-date address. The nice thing about our grant as well is most of it is done online. So unless, say you requested a sport expense grant and you were awarded and we were going to send you funds, we could send you a check. That's definitely an option that would be mailed to you, but most people select an online version to on how to receive their funds. So regardless of your location, it wouldn't matter for receiving.
Second question that has to do with tandem bikes.
Yeah.
If I understood you right, let's say I bought a tandem bike, whether or not, you know, even before I found out whether I got the grant and got a receipt, would a grant, if I were awarded a grant, would it reimburse me for the cost of the bike that I bought?
Susan, that's a great question and something else I didn't touch on, but very important. So CAF grant funds cannot be used to reimburse yourself for a past expense. So grant funds must be used within the grant period towards your expense. So if you purchased a tandem bike in December and you were awarded in March 2025, you could not use those funds to kind of put back in your pocket. That's simply CAF's fiscal policies, has to do with our 501c3 status and the way that our fiscal year works. So that's a fantastic question.
Hi, Jamie. I have just out of curiosity, and I believe that most of us are adults in the Zoom meeting right now. Can parents or guardians submit applications on behalf of their children for this grant? If that's the case, do they need to submit any proof of like the established relationship between them two?
That's a fantastic question. So to answer your question, yes, an applicant can have someone else help them fill out the application. And forgive me, in my rush to make sure we are still on time, I skipped over that slightly as well. So in this new grant portal, there is an option for you, say you as an adult, we'll start with adults first. Say you wanted some assistance filling out this application. There is a section in profile, which you'll be prompted to fill out before you can get to the applications, that will ask if you would like a collaborator to, if you'd like to enter information for a collaborator. So say you wanted Kiana to help you fill out a grant. Sorry, Kiana, I'm just using you as an example here. You would put in her first and last name and email address, and basically Kiana would be emailed saying, you know, so-and-so Fabian has added you as a collaborator on his 2025 annual grant application. And Kiana would be able to log in and help fill out that application for you. Now, say it's a case of a parent and in the applicant is the youth, is a youth applicant. The parent can just log in for their youth applicant. They don't have to be added as a collaborator. So if you're a parent, you would create a profile for your child and just, you know, fill out the application on their behalf.
Messages. 2 unread messages.
Thank you.
Message.
Welcome.
Apps. Raise to listen. Show more. Janet Camacho.
I have a question. Do you guys cover travel expenses related to sports, like
Yes.
tournaments?
Yes,
Rush.
absolutely. So the great thing about the sport expense grant is its flexibility. So say you receive, let's just hypothetically say you received $1,500 and you wanted to use 500 for a plane ticket for Beat Baseball World Series, and you wanted to use 200 for a hotel room for the night, and you wanted to use the remainder to put towards your gym membership. You could do that. You can use those funds kind of for any sport expense that you come across. So that could include travel expenses like a hotel room, a plane ticket, funding, entry fees, anything that's kind of related to the travel for competition.
And do you need to submit any receipts for afterwards, or?
Correct. So part of the grant process, and this is going to be all listed. If you're awarded, you'll get a whole list of requirements. You are required to submit receipts to show how grant funds were spent.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The one thing I want to point out as well, in the grant portal, there's an FAQ section that's, as Kiana said, very thorough. We try to answer every question that you might think of. So if you're going through this process and you have a question, you can certainly visit that FAQ section and find the answer to most questions there. So that's a great resource.
I'm going to
Any other
jump in. This is Kiana Glanson again. I'm going to ask that if you're on Zoom and you're not asking a question, if you could mute your phone so we can hear. It's a little low on our side, so we really want to share this information. Jamie, I have 3 questions for you for the room, okay?
Yes.
And you can answer them all together. Can expenses for a minor, can the parent submit receipts? For example, if a 16-year-old child is applying and the mother or parent has airfare as well, can both of those receipts be submitted as an acceptable use of funds on a grant? That's one. I'll stop there. Let's get that answer.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes, if you are a youth athlete or if you are an adult athlete who requires a guide, you can use grant funds towards the expenses for either the parent or guardian or towards your guide. That is absolutely acceptable.
Awesome. My second question is if I'm not mistaken, the period in which you can use the funds, that takes place from March through January 31st of the following year. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to open questions up to the physical room that's here. We have quite a few members of Team USA for blind baseball, not beat ball, but Italian baseball, and some other guests that are new to the community. If you are here in Lighthouse Guilds and you have a question for Jamie and the Challenge Athlete Foundation, please unmute your mic and go ahead and ask.
Hi, Jamie. This is Jeremy. Did I hear you correctly that you said that gym memberships could be put towards the Challenge Athletes?
Absolutely. Yes, Jeremy. You could use grant funds to pay for a year of your gym membership. Absolutely. Or a personal trainer, anything that it could be related to sport or fitness.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Jamie. This is Eddie. You mentioned before, if I heard you correctly, that the funds can go towards blind baseball equipment related. What does that mean specifically? What do you mean by? Oh, can you hear me now? Okay, good. Hey, Jamie, it's Eddie. So my question was, you mentioned before that the funds can be used for blind baseball equipment. What does that mean exactly? What do you mean? Like, is there specific equipment for blind baseball, or is that you just mean equipment in general?
I think just equipment in general. So I'm not sure if there's any specialized equipment that you might need, or a glove or balls or anything that might be associated equipment wise with your sport. Our grant funds could certainly cover those.
Great.
Sure. I just want to add to that. There, on the frequently asked questions portion of the Challenge Athlete Foundation website, there's a list of things you cannot use these grant funds for, which is really important. You can't just go buy gym socks. Yes, Gatorade is not on there. There's a few things you cannot use these grant funds for. So it's really important that when you reconcile, which means when you submit your receipts, if you are awarded these grant funds, that you are very particular in the way in which you upload them and that they're accurate. You will not be invited or allowed to apply or receive grant funds if you are non-compliant, if I'm not mistaken, right, Jamie?
That is correct. And the nice thing about the application, this is all going to be laid out very clearly for you as to what you can and can't use the funds for. So you won't have to guess. You won't be confused as to what is an eligible expense. But correct, Gatorade is not on the list. Nutrition supplements, food, general attire. So you can't just go and buy a nice, windbreaker. Really, the expenses that can be covered with grant funds should be directly related to sport. And just we ask the athletes use their best judgment. It should be something that without the grant funds, you couldn't purchase, or it would be difficult to proceed with a certain expense. So if you're traveling and you go to a nice dinner and you can't use grant funds for a steak dinner while you're at your blind baseball tournament. We just ask that you use your best judgment, use grant funds responsibly.
I have one more question.
Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Weeks. I just want to give you an update because I do buy I bought a bat for blind baseball, and my other sport where I take part in is goalball. I order a ball from another company, and my travelings when I've been to that tournament in London, and I do everything. I bought a blindfold. I order a blindfold as one of the equipment I bought because I have to use a blindfold for goalball as well. I think I bought a gloves.
You have to move on. What's your question?
So the thing is that if you these are the things I'm telling you. If you want to know, you can order. I think you can order ball for blind baseball, as well as equipment like I would say like the beeping base. That's equipment. Those are things you can order. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to have to move on. One of the cool new caveats of the Challenge Athlete Foundation application is that you can send questions to the Challenge Athlete Foundation in the application. And they're really good with getting back. They field thousands of applications, but in every single experience that I've had with contacting them, I got a response. It's a high season. They're excited for us. And remember, they're here to support our community. And so if you have questions, I can also help here in the local area. I can give you some insight. But in the app and on the website, their contact information is listed. There'll be a few minutes at the end of this session for some more Q&A. If Jamie is still on, we're happy to have her. But if not, you can, in the app, contact the team at Challenge Athlete Foundation. And so keep in mind, these two foundations are different in that one is international, one is not. One has served specifically the blind and low vision community and has some other caveats as well. But these are two resources that, used properly, will expand your capacity to participate in adaptive athletics, to build community, to have a safer, fuller, happier life. And so with that, I really want to thank you, Jamie. And if you're able to stay on, we welcome you here. Do you have any parting words before we move to our next presenter?
Yeah, thank you so much for allowing me to come and speak to you today. Now, that was a lot of information, but you'll find, I hope, that the application is really straightforward, and I hope to see many applications submitted between now and December 6th. I can only stay on for about 10 more minutes. I do have another meeting shortly, but Kiana, I'm sure you'll provide contact information, and I'll send over the presentation and information just in case you'd like to share that out with the community.
Hey, Jamie, this is Janice. I have one quick question. You say we have a new grant portal, and those of us that already got the grant for this year, where do we upload our receipt? to the new grant portal? Because the old grant portal is going to be shut down, or that's still going to be, live?
Yeah, you will upload receipts in the old grant portal. We'll be
Uh-huh.
sending an email within the next week or two with information about receipts. That's a great question. Thank you so much, Kiana. I appreciate it. And I will stay on as long as I can, and hopefully can answer some additional questions.
No problem. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Janice, and everyone who provided a question. In the interest of time, we are going to move forward. I think both Josh and Jamie will have some overlap with how things can be used, but specifically remember that in your email, we provided the websites for both foundations, and at the end, I'll answer some more questions if we have them. I would like to introduce my new friend, Josh Snyder of the Dented Puck. And what's cool in the blind community is sometimes you'll be next to someone and not know because we can't see. So Josh and I have tabled next to each other 3 times, and we keep introducing ourselves and realizing, oh yeah, I met you already. And he thinks I'm the beat baseball girl, but I'm not. I'm the blind baseball girl. And so he is here on behalf of his own organization and Blind Hockey, but to serve also as a member of the Foreseeable Future Foundation. And he will give more insight. What's really cool about this grant season with Foreseeable is there are grants and scholarships. So he'll get into more detail about that. Welcome, Josh.
Thank you. It's funny because we've now been put together just randomly next to each other. I didn't even realize we were next to each other at NFB convention till your coaches walked up, who I know by name now, and I was like, yeah, that's how it goes. So we went from the 10-year grant professional to me, who's doing this up by the seat of my pants. But I've done a lot of the grant. I've helped a lot of people through the Foreseeable Future grant, and I've applied for it for a few years myself. So I have a lot of experience with the grant. The Foreseeable Future Foundation was founded by Griffin Pinko and his family a few years ago. He is an individual blind athlete. I've worked with their foundation in a bunch of different capacities. So I want to explain a little bit about how their grant's a little bit different. But a lot of the things that Jamie explained so well are very much the same. So first of all, the major information, the scholarship is up to $1,500. It's typically event or activity based. While Challenge Athletes Foundation is for people of all different types of disabilities, and while we have a little bit of confusion when they're talking about specific disabled sports equipment, adaptive equipment, because for people with physical disabilities, it's serious sports equipment that need to be adapted. But for us, one of our biggest problems that we have to overcome is transportation. So in the grand scheme of things, a lot of our events and everything we do has, transportation we have to figure out. So for the grant, there are 2 types of ways that blind athletes and their groups can get money from Foreseeable Future. Theirs is a little bit different, and this is where you're going to get confused because I've said it too. They have a grant and a scholarship program. Their scholarship programs are for the individual players, individual athletes, and their grant program is for organizations, your blind sports organizations, any organization or a group of people that will be doing something together. The individual scholarships are a $1,500 scholarship. It is meant for the 2024 season. There's unlike the CAF grant, there's no prerequisite medical documentation that you need to upload, and it's more or less a very simple grant form that you can do online. The grant application already opened. It opened this October 1st. The window closes on December 1st. And their plan is to review, and the notification should come out by late January, early February. In the grand scheme of things, it's more or less the same grant, the same type of grant as the CAF grant. When I applied for both and I needed hockey equipment for myself, I focused on utilizing the CAF grant for the hockey equipment and using the foreseeable future grant for my travel. Like the CAF grant, it is the same type of process where you're going to have to come up with the receipts for at the end of the year, next January in 2026 for the grant that you'll be using in 2025. Let me see what else I have for the basic stuff. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, these both grant programs are relatively similar. The questions on the foreseeable future grant are more blind related and visually impaired related. They want to know the activity that you're doing, how it impacts your life, how it's changed your life as a blind person. More when you're doing the CAF grant is for more disabilities. So what I find when I do the foreseeable future, it hits a little closer to home as a visually impaired person. And when you're explaining the activities, it's a little more understanding than when you're really explaining what you're doing as a blind person to CAF, which is encompassing of all disabilities. But that, in the grand scheme of things, is the major differences between the two. Does anybody have any questions that I could possibly answer as someone who's went through it and where works with the Foreseeable Future Foundation?
I want to pause just really quickly, Josh, and just to add a little bit to that. If you have questions, get them ready because Josh is the expert here. So I just want to underscore a few points. This particular grant is only open to U.S. citizens. Okay, so that's one of the major differences. The second is there is more of a focus on impact in the visual, the low vision and blind community, where, like he said, the impact of how these funds will support you to reach your dreams and your goals are considered. Now, while the maximum is $1,500, they do give smaller amounts sometimes. I have known of people to get the full 15. I've known of people to get 1,000. I've known of people to get $700. So what's cool is it adds value to the experience, but they operate the same in terms of reconciliation and the year in which you must use these funds. There's a little bit more flexibility, I find, because you can submit dinner receipts. You shouldn't be drinking or anything like that, but you can submit dinner receipts, but they act very similar. Griffin himself is an accomplished Paralympian, and he also is a high-ranked cyclist. He does this special kind of cycling that's really fast and at a 45-degree angle. It's really freaky, but he's awesome at it, and he is dedicated to ensuring that our youth in our community is supported with adaptive athletics. So having said that, keep in mind that both these grants are open now and they close within the first week. Those deadlines are really, really important. Where CAF has an electric option for receiving your funds, the Foreseeable Future Foundation does not at this time. You will receive a paper check, and it comes sometime between March and May. So it's a wider window. If you are planning on attending an event or your season is starting in the spring, just keep those dates in mind for disbursement when you're planning how you might use these funds. You won't know until you're told that you get them, but for some people who ski or play winter sports or snow sports, it can be a little bit of a challenge because the dates in which the funds have to be used. You may not reimburse yourself for either one of those events unless specified. CAF has a hard, fast no, where Foreseeable, you would have to contact them directly about that. So let's open the room, both Zoom and here in person, to questions regarding Foreseeable Future Foundation grants and scholarships. Oh, before we do that, let me just say this. If you belong to a team or an organization, that person who is in charge, the manager, the team captain, can apply for a grant up to $2,500, and that grant can go towards coaching, a facility, team uniforms, and that's as a whole. You can still, as a member of that team, apply for an individual scholarship up to $1,500. So if you belong to a team, please apply for the grant for $2,500, up to $2,500, and the scholarship as an individual for $1,500. Now, having said that, I know I have two questions in the room. Yeah. So if you're ready, let me know your name first.
Amanda.
Okay, Josh.
I was wondering, where do we upload? Do we upload? How do we send in those receipts?
It's emailed. They'll send you an email when it comes time to it in January, and I'm pretty sure it was through a website that you upload the receipts in there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Josh, I have the same question that I asked for the CAF. Does regular gym membership also apply for the foreseeable future?
I feel like in this situation, this is something that you'd have to write and ask them, because this is more of a blind experience. If it is something if it is specifically training and that's what you're doing, if it's just a gym membership, it might need a little explanation. But if it is a specific focused training gym membership, I could see them working with it.
Got it.
I have a question. My name's John. I'm the captain of the Philly Fire Beat baseball team. I just want to clarify something you just spoke on. So I do a lot of the fundraising and organizing for our team. So I myself would be able to apply for the team grant and then still apply for the individual grant, or would I need like a coach or something to do that?
You want to answer that?
Oh no, absolutely. Because you'll be applying on behalf of the team.
Yeah. I mean,
I do for the grant for the team. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, you yourself can do both on behalf of the team, and the questions are asked differently and more specific to the broader goal of the team, and then you can go submit the separate scholarship application for yourself, and you should. So
I didn't eliminate myself from doing a team grant. That was the only question. I guess if I needed, like one of our sites do that instead or something like that. So
I have a question.
Nope. Hi, can you say your name?
Hi. My question is, I have a lot of questions about a lot of things, skiing, tennis, and this, but can I go to Lighthouse and talk to somebody about the grants that I might need? Can I make an appointment with somebody there?
I am so proud of you, Andrea, for asking that question. This is to everyone. Here at Lighthouse Guild, through our volunteer services, we are now offering the opportunity for you to get one-on-one assistance with someone in person to help you fill in the answers for your application. This person cannot think for you and create the words you want to use, but if you dictate to them, they can help you create an application. Also, if you have documents that need to be scanned into PDFs for uploading, we can do that safely here, and your information will be protected and remain confidential. As Jamie mentioned, there is a collaborator option on the Challenge Athlete Foundation application. So either you can get someone to log in, or they will sit with you and create your application for you and with you. That is a separate process, and I'll share more of that information towards the end. So that's here at Lighthouse Guild, and you have to be in person to do that. As of now, we do not have a remote option, but our volunteer services, so those in the New York City area that can get here to our headquarters on 64th Street in Manhattan, you can sign up through volunteer services to get that assistance. And they will be ready with a laptop and computer, and you can provide your documents, and they will be handled that way. And Andrea, I can also help you offline if you have I can answer all of your questions for you. Okay?
Thank you. Yeah, because some things like running, I have Achilles, so I'm turned in tandem, I have the biking, but there are other things where I need help to, because I'm blind, but I'm really good at so many things, the tennis and the skiing and everything. So I'll talk to you, and online, that would be perfect. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome, Andrea. Thank you. And you are good at all those things. So continue to be strong and push yourself forward in your sports. Any more questions in the room or on Zoom about Foreseeable Future Foundation? Okay. Robert Weeks first, and then Eddie.
Is this a question, Robert? Or?
Yeah. Okay. For you, Mike, Robert.
Yes, I am a member of the Rec Center on 25th Street in Manhattan, and in there we have a lot of goal ball activity goes on, and there's a lot of blind people take part in that. And so, I can put in my membership because every year I have to pay $25 a month membership because as I use a cane, as long as you have a disability or you have an access right card, we have to pay only $25 a year. Can I put that can I put that on the list for my membership when I support for my grant? Thank you.
To play go ball?
Yes, I play go ball in the rec center. And to be there, you have to pay $25 a year membership.
Oh, absolutely, because it is directly paying for your goal ball.
Yeah, thank you. And I can go there 7 days a week. Thank you.
All right, this is Eddie. I had a question. Would your grant be separate to, I forget the other. Yeah, would that be can someone apply to both grants?
Oh, absolutely, and I have, and I encourage people to. There are years where I've gotten one. There are years where there was a year I got both. But please, I mean, they're not competing. They're mutually exclusive. Apply for both. You easily can get both if you put some thought into the grant applications, but don't think because you applied for one, you can't apply for the other. That's why we're both here, is that every blind athlete should be applying for both of these grants every year.
And is there a maximum to what the grant would be?
The Foreseeable Future grant can be up to $1,500.
Okay.
However, if you do, and this did happen to me, if you do request $1,500 and even give it the reasoning to get to $1,500, you might not get $1,500.
Mm-hmm.
And the same way that CAF says that there is no financial disclosure for Foreseeable Future, but based on their need, based on the community, and based on what they have, they will judge. Sometimes maybe the value of your receipt is not full, but you will get a partial also.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, this is Bernie. I have a question.
Go ahead, Bernie.
Someone said you have to be a citizen. Is that a citizen of the United States or a citizen in New York or what?
Yes. So for the Challenged Athlete Foundation, you just have to be a human being with a physical disability or a visual disability that is permanent. For Foreseeable Future, you have to be a United States citizen.
Okay, great. All right, thank you.
You're very welcome. More questions if you have them. I will say, as you're thinking of questions, if you have any, it really depends on the fundraising year prior, because these are nonprofit organizations. The amount of people who apply and the amount that the organization raised for the prior year will impact how much you get. A lot of people this year I found in the community got about $1,100. Another year was $1,300. One person got $1,500. So it really depends, but it's worth you applying for both opportunities every year, because some years will be higher than others.
Hi, it's Rachel. I have a question.
Give me 1 second. The person online, can you say your name and ask your question again, please?
Rachel.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi, I have a question for the grant one for the organization. If I buy something for the organization that's a larger expense, it's more than $2,500, will they pay partially toward something like that?
If I understand your question, so you're referring to the Foreseeable grant that's for the group, for the team, correct?
Right.
And you're asking if you were awarded this grant for $2,500, but the team purchased something that was more expensive than that.
Right.
Is that
so
your question?
Yeah, will they reimburse the partial? Like, let's say if we buy something for $5,000 for our organization, a big device or something, will they pay $2,500 towards that? You know what I'm saying?
I will defer to Josh on that, and then I'll answer after him.
Oh yeah, they have no problem doing a partial, but like we talked about for the Challenged Athletes Foundation, it can't be a reimbursement. If it's a program or something you have coming up, and you would need the Foreseeable Future grant for part of the expenses for the program, absolutely. They don't have to fully cover the expenses of the program. They would be glad to cover part of it.
I will add to that during the application process, I haven't looked at the application this year, but they ask you how you're going to spend these funds. I think, and this is just my opinion, I think it's better to err on the side of caution and to have an expenses that exceed what you think you need. Because if you say you only need $400, you will not be awarded $1,500 to use for athletic purposes. So if you know that this equipment, this cycle, or I don't know what you could use for $5,000, but if it costs $5,000, I would say that so that the board that's reviewing this will make a consideration that makes sense. Perhaps you'll get the maximum given that they're just helping you to get there and knowing that you still have a ways to go. Does that make sense? Okay.
This is Joe.
We have a question from Eddie, and then we'll do Joe, and then we'll do Jeremy.
My question was, I guess, being that you can apply for both of them, essentially someone can receive $3,000?
Maximum. The max you can possibly receive between the two organizations in total is $3,000. But one amount is not contingent on the other. One may have a budget and you may meet a criteria where you get $1,500, and the other one could potentially give you $200. So you want to apply for both applications independently and shoot, and hope that when you submit your budget, your ideas of what you need this money for, that you maximize what the expenses can be used for. We're going to go with Jeremy, and then we're going to go with Joe.
When we submit the receipts, do we need to have explanations like if it wasn't something that we outlined in the application process, but we later, had an expense and like, oh, that actually I think could work. Do we need to send in like explanations or defend why we think it should be covered?
In the grand scheme of things, from my experience, that's happened to me, and I've like Kiana said, I've erred on the side of caution. If it is something that's going to 100% apply, I would add in there and explain it why. But I've never had anything. I've never had the ones that I've done that for sent back. That it was something that I applied, that I said I was using it for, and I used something for different because it was directly related to blind hockey. So, like we said, don't give them a reason to not give you the grant in the future, and that's the idea. Foreseeable future, there's one of the questions is asked, how else are you going to fund things like this? And they want you to write the CAF grant because they want to know that you're looking other places for the money. They're not going to say, oh, they're getting the CAF grant, we're not going to give them money.
I agree with that. So you should be having as creative as a budget as possible. And I want to remind everyone, I don't think we've touched on this yet, Josh, whatever funds you do not use and cannot be justified have to be returned. They have to be returned. Both organizations are nonprofits and they reconcile within their calendar year, however their various schedules go, but they have to, in order to continue these programs, fully reconcile. So this year we had a unique situation where someone received funding from both organizations, almost the maximum, and they had to return thousands of dollars of it back because they weren't able to use it how they said, and they do want to apply again next year. So to remain in good standing, if you receive these grants and you don't use the money, you need to return it. But given that both have a wide array of things that you can use these funds for, it's to your benefit to spend it all. If you have to buy additional equipment, as long as it's approved, you should. If you have to buy an extra bat or an extra item and it's approved, you should, because you want to show that you were appreciative of receiving these funds and you managed what you said you were going to do well. Okay, let's go to Joe.
Hey, thank you. Is the grant only applicable for pre-existing teams, or could you use it to help establish a new team or organization?
That's a really good question.
That's good. I want to say, and I wanted to look up that I'm under the impression it has to be an existing 501c3. I want to say that's one of the top ones.
If it's not an existing 501c team, it's got to be under the umbrella of a 501c organization. I do know that to be a fact because our Lions baseball team didn't have their own team, but were under the Lions Club, and they received funding for blind baseball. So it's a good opportunity to get it started. And in terms of Foreseeable, I'll make sure that everyone that's registered has the contact information for both organizations. That's worth exploring. If you can prove that there is a need, there's a competition, that you have a team and you're in process, I think it's worth exploring. So don't count yourself out, Joe.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. More questions if you have them.
Question, if you don't mind.
I don't.
So just to let Joe know, when I first started, I was not a 501, and someone else managed money for me. So that's very possible to link up with another organization, and they could disperse the funds as needed. But I guess my question was, when the Lighthouse Guild said that there would be someone to assist people with these grants, will that contact information be given out by email or in the chat?
Yes. Within another day or two, probably by Monday, we will have directions on how to access the recording, because this will be recorded. We'll also be able to provide a way in which you can see the presentation that Jamie had. I will provide the organization's addresses to their websites, and if there's a contact email, I'll share that as well. I already forgot your question. What did you ask me? Volunteer services. Volunteer services. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going over the list of things that I want to provide. So for volunteer services, we will have their the link to their website and a phone number where you can reach someone here during business hours, Eastern Standard Time, and you can register to have what's called a reading services appointment. But within that reading services appointment, there's an option for our staff to select grants. And you will be given a 1 hour to 90-minute session with one person who is trained on how to use the website and can help answer your questions. But you yourself will have to provide the answers, and they will input it for you.
That's amazing. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Any more questions? Okay. Anyone in the room, questions or reflections?
Team.
Go Team USA. Okay, well, thank you for those who have joined us from Florida and Philly and upstate New York. I see a few teams represented here, Achilles and Tandem, beep baseball, blind baseball, hockey. There's some skiers on here as well. Feel free to share this information with people in your community. This does not preclude you from applying if you are not on this session here. These applications are open to anyone who meet the qualifications and the requirements for receiving the grants. So I hope that you'll share this information. We have about 2 more people that have reflections. Jeremy?
I just want to add one thing. This Zoom meeting has been recorded, so if anyone wants to get a recording of it later and wants to review it, you can either reach out to Kiana or reach out to myself. I was the one that sent the email today. So you can just reply to that, but this is recorded, so you can have the copy.
This is Bernie from Richmond. I have one more question.
Go for it.
How do I find out about this blind hockey?
Josh Snyder.
I got you. You're from Richmond?
Yeah.
I mean, we have a team in DC.
Damn hockey.
I mean, we're kind of like the gentleman who talked about starting new teams. It's kind of how we are around the country. But I will get your information. I'll absolutely reach out.
Josh, there's a link in the chat that you can put in about blind hockey if you want to check in the chat.
So it looks like there's a link in a chat that Ted put in about blind hockey.
Yeah. Thanks, Ted.
Thank you, Ted.
I'm not that technical. Can someone send me? Can you, Kiana, give him my email? I'm not that technical.
Who am I speaking to, just so I have the correct names?
This is Bernie in Richmond.
Bernie from Virginia. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Bernie, we will link you. Also, if I don't link each other, attendees, you will have our contact information. Just send us a reminder that I'm Kiana from Harlem, and I'm interested in connecting with someone, and we can do it that way as well. I'll be sure to share that information with you.
Okay, thanks
and you
so
guys
much.
You're welcome. You can reply to the emails we sent out, or you can call us. My phone number, for those that find it easy to call directly, is 212-769-7893. That's 212-769-7893. And that will get you to my office and to my voicemail, and I will return your call if it's easier to speak over the phone. So with that, I'll let Josh send some last reflections, and we're going to finish up.
No, thank you everybody for coming on here. It really is blind. If you haven't been to an event or been to a practice and you need the financials, this is the way to do it. This is the way to take that next step in blind sports, blind, whatever you're interested in doing. So thank you everybody for coming on. If you're interested in blind hockey, Ted dropped a link in the chat. But if you want to reach out, please reach out to Kiana and she will forward your information to me. Thank you, everybody.
Absolutely. Also, we are on social media, Lighthouse Guild on Facebook and Instagram. You can find updates and information that support the blind and low vision community. We do have a virtual option and support groups, telesupport groups, so you do not have to be in the New York City area to receive services here at Lighthouse Guild. But for blind baseball, which I'm always about that, find us at US Blind Baseball on Instagram and Facebook, and you can see USA Blind Baseball on Facebook and Instagram, and you can see pictures and interact with the players, the staff, and see how our defeat in London went. But as we build up a stronger team, I just encourage you all to continue to enjoy adaptive athletics. It's for you. This funding is for you, and if you have questions, I'm happy to assist you. So with that, thank you to everyone who participated online. Thank you to the friends, family, and community that are here in the room. And if you have questions, I'll keep this open for another 2 or 3 minutes, and I will see all of you all on email. Thank you so much. Good night.
Can I have your phone number one more time?
Sure. Phone number again, area code 212-769-7893. And because this is going international, the international code is 1. So that's 1-212-769-7893.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Just for the CAF grant for international participants, their information has to be in English, correct?
Yes. For those that have international connections, the application has to be done in English, and your documentation has to be done in English as well.
No problem. Okay.
All right. You can hit mute, and you can leave it up just in case someone says anything. Robert Weeks.
Stanley Cup champions, Panthers.
Just to let you know, some more baseball players came in, but we have Michael from In Tandem. So if you are in the New York City area, it's one of the awesome organizations that's friendly with us. We're kind of cousins because we share space, and quite a few of us like to ride with In Tandem and get training. And so if you are interested in riding a tandem bike, they offer proper training. They have online opportunities and different rides throughout the year. And I find them to be an amazing resource. So that is In Tandem NYC, correct?
No, intandembike.org.
Intandembike.org if you're interested in riding a tandem bike in the New York City area.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for coming.
Of course.
Yeah.